This show is sponsored by Horizon HVAC, who you can count on for all of your heating and cooling needs. Jeff Driscol is on the podcast today. We're going to be talking about testosterone, peptides, how important it is to get blood work done. And this is a topic that I really am enjoying. I'm looking forward to talking about because it's something that I've been involved with almost my whole life. Since I started working out, 16, I was natural all the way up until maybe my mid-20s. And I started on a low dose of testosterone. I remember the first time we got it, it was like, we got it from this sketchy dude in like a diaper. He showed up to McDonald's. We sat down with him. It was like little tiny vials, one cc vials. And he's like this just sketchy guy. He's like, yeah, just snap the top off, fill it, and you're done every 5 days. And, ever since then, I've been running with that routine every 5 days. And it's not been a consistent thing. I've been on for like 6 months and then off. And then I went like 10 years without being on. And then I went on and off. So it's always been something I was very familiar with, but I never put much research into it. And that's because back then there wasn't much medical beneficial research, right? It was all kind of just black market, stereotypical steroids.
Back of the gym.
Right? Yeah.
Back of the gym stuff. I grew up in Southern California, 30 minutes from Tijuana. So believe you me, when we were 16, 17 years old, we were crossing the border, with an objective in mind, which is to get the most hardcore stuff we could. We get these baggies of just these white pills, and these guys would just say, these things will get you jacked. And so we're popping them. We're going to the gym going, oh man, I'm feeling stronger. And yeah, they were probably crazy, right? So, no wonder I had low testosterone at a young age. But yeah, I think we all did it. I get calls every day from guys with similar stories, right? That go, hey, I used to do this. It did make me feel better, but I know I pushed the envelope in the wrong direction. And now I know I need to do something, but I want to do it the right way. And that's where we try to help them.
So what got you involved in this? I know you were saying that, you were in the military, and thank you for your service.
Oh, thanks, man.
Talk a little bit about that and, your younger years and how you got involved with the military. And
yeah. I was a dumbass in high school. So, when I got out of high school, I didn't have a lot of options. So the military seemed like the best one at the time. And, the silver-tongued Marine Corps recruiter goes, hey, you'll just travel the world.
They are good. They are good.
Man, you're going to meet all these girls, travel around Asia. I was like, man, yes, you're going to work out for a living. Awesome. So, end up joining and like straight to Iraq, right?
Oh,
so could have been more of the opposite. So anyways, was in Iraq for years and went through a lot of combat and had a bunch of friends get killed when
she was in Afghanistan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Air Force.
Okay. Glad I didn't go to Afghanistan. I heard that one was even tougher.
I think they're equally
different.
They're their own experiences.
Yeah. No, for sure. So anyways, I got out of the military.
So did you see a bunch of combat?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. And in fact, my best buddy was kind of a local New England guy. It's what actually drew me to the area to go to college out here and all that. But he was killed in combat and returned his body home to his family in Plymouth, Mass. And so they're still, a big part of my life.
So how long did you do total?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
And I noticed you did 4 years too. Is that kind of like the minimum amount to do to get the benefits and stuff?
Yeah, I actually signed up for 6 years.
Okay.
And then the Air Force was going through like a force shaping, and they were cutting down on bases, shutting bases down. And I was in surgery. So where I could go per base, Air Force base, depended on if they did surgery or not.
Oh.
So when they did the force shaping, I had 3 children, and I thought, it's a good time to get out if I can. Yeah. So I just wrote a bunch of paperwork and explained my situation. And so I got out. I was discharged that way, and it was a wonderful experience, though. I definitely hear a lot of people that say military was not for them, but I really enjoyed the process.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I was ready to get out. I was a little combat fatigued. It was a tough couple years. It was really intense, but I look back at it as some of the best times of my life.
Yeah, for sure.
And the camaraderie. There's nothing like the friendship and that. And that's kind of one of the hard parts about getting out is then to find your next passion. For so many guys that get out or ladies in their mid-20s, and then they go, well, is that the most important thing I'm ever going to do in my life?
Yeah.
And then they really struggle with a sense of purpose after that. And because it's a huge job.
For sure. I love the way you put that.
So 4 years in the Marines, correct?
Yeah.
You got out, and what drew you into the the peptide testosterone medical field?
So, first I went back to college and utilized a lot of the benefits and went to Harvard Business School. Was very fortunate to go there.
Wow, how was that?
Yeah.
It was interesting. It's
Harvard Business School. That's impressive.
kind of hoity-toity people.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
kinda didn't
I
fit
can
in,
imagine.
people were like, my dad is a senator. I went, my dad drives Uber. No, but it was a really cool experience. Great people, international group of folks, really smart, and
Did the military pay for that? It was
yeah.
really.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have gotten in otherwise. They have this.
But you got in because you were smart enough to get in,
Yes.
right?
You
maybe
have to give
there's
yourself
this
credit.
awesome program, and if anybody's getting out, they should look it up. It's called vocational rehabilitation. If you served in war, you can, through the VA and through the benefits, go past the GI system and go into this program where they help you find the job you want. And so, they say, hey, well, what school do you think you need to go to? And I went, I think I need to go to Harvard Business School. And they just went, okay, so they get you
Wow.
in and that kind of stuff. So it's a cool thing.
What was your original thought with Harvard Business? What was your goals? What would you want to end up doing?
I didn't know at the time. I think I was just looking for, I wanted to make money, right? And I wanted to do something exciting. And I think I was chasing kind of the resume behind it. If I were to do it again, would I ever pay for it? No, I don't think it's such, it's funny. In any job interview I had it, since then, nobody really talks about it. In fact, there's a little bit of shame bringing it up because they're going to go, oh my gosh, they're going to think you're
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
whatever. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say it without sounding like you're bragging, but it was a cool thing. I think it was beneficial, but from there, I got into medical sales. I had some buddies that were doing medical sales
Fun.
and they were making a bunch of money, right? And I was like, this is cool. I get to be in surgery. I get to do exciting things. And so I fell into cancer genomics. And so
Wow.
spent 20 years doing that, leading sales teams and,
Wow.
and driving that kind of stuff.
My buddy Anthony Marcello has a company called Better RX. It's pretty much a Keurig for medication.
Okay.
And it I guess what it does is it draws the exact milligrams. Because
Right.
to my understanding, in a pharmacy, when they're dosing, it's not accurate.
Yeah.
They're literally doing it all by hand still, and
Right.
they're everything just by hand.
Yeah.
So this machine, what it does is it basically creates these wafers. I don't know much about the medical field like that, but it seems like a pretty good
Better
product. I know they're
RX
putting
Inc.
I think I've heard of
they're
it.
putting a bunch of money into it, and super smart kid. He's gonna take it far. And I know he just sold his first unit, but so all right. So did you end up getting out of college,
Yeah.
and what was your decision after that?
So went into sales, right? And, had a lot of early success. One of the first products I got to sell was back in the day, years and years ago. There were these researchers that discovered the BRCA gene for women, the breast and ovarian genetic disease gene, where if you have this gene, you have a huge percentage of chance that you're going to get breast or ovarian cancer at a very young age. And so as part of launching that and getting, that out there, funny enough, it was a really hard sell until Angelina Jolie came out and said that
Yeah.
she had the gene, and then overnight it exploded. And that started a genetic and genomic revolution with all these new tests that do incredible things. And so for the last 6 or 7 years, I focused primarily on testing that test cancer tumors. They can look at the whole exome, transcriptome, so DNA, RNA, proteins, and then they can see what chemotherapies will work
Wow.
for that cancer. So targeted therapies that are specifically designed to kill that particular cancer. And so now if you get cancer, it's almost guaranteed that you'll get one of those tests.
That's incredible. And you guys designed that, or
The scientist did. I was a sales guy, but yeah, no, absolutely.
That's incredible.
Do you think that AI is going to be on the front edge of detecting cancer before it forms? Because I know that there's some studies out right now that it's able to, detect it years before it even advances into stage 1.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's an incredible number of AI applications currently. I can name a few of them. I mean, one challenging thing for doctors is to find out where the cancer originated from. And oftentimes they'll pull out cancer, say, from the lung, but it really originated in the ovaries. And that's a very different type of cancer and a different set of drugs and treatment decisions. If you give the wrong drug to the wrong cancer type, it likely won't respond. And so now AI can look at those things and say, no, this actually originated here. There's elements of what's called digital pathology, where pathologists would typically look at cancer cells and try to diagnose what was going on. Well, now AI could just look at it and they're way more accurate, right? So there's just a ton of
Are they just
applications.
looking at patterns, previous patterns on how it develops?
It's all about the data set, but like the company I previously worked for, they've tested millions of tumors, rare tumors. They have all that. They upload it into the system, and the system trains and identifies patterns that the naked eye can't identify, and it starts to
Yeah, so it
do
can
stuff.
notice a pattern 5 years before it forms and
Yeah.
kind
So what
of
you're talking about is early detection, and so there's companies out there now that are kind of the holy grail is they're trying to do this early detection where they want to be able to draw your blood in a regular blood test and see if you have cancer cells circulating through your blood. And they're getting better at it. There's certain types of cancers where you can really see it, and then there's other types of cancers where they don't shed into the blood as well. And so, for instance, like colon cancer works actually pretty good. That sheds a lot. Say, a brain cancer, because of the blood-brain barrier, doesn't really shed into the blood system as well. But these companies are looking at these tests. There's some commercially available now. There's a company called Grail, and there's others that you can go out and get these tests. The problem is there's a ton of false positives. There's a lot of false negatives, and so um, they can cause false alarm, and just they're not accurate enough to really commercially use very well.
Mm.
But they will be eventually.
Do you think that will be at a place in the future where, I mean, we have the cure for cancer? Do you think that'll ever happen, or do you think that big pharma is something that will always loom over that topic?
Yeah, I'm not smart enough to know the answer to that. I think it's challenging when people talk about cancer. They kind of throw it out as this one disease. Cancer is actually, every cancer is different. The pathways are different. The way it works. Cancer is really smart. You do one thing to it, it learns to evade that and go down a different pathway. And so it's difficult. What I can say is that there's just I mean, some of the things I know about some of these advancements are incredible. They're developing personalized vaccines, for instance, where they'll run your whole genome, they'll figure out everything about your particular cancer if you had one, and then they develop a full-on vaccine just for your cancer. And I've heard I've heard some information about some clinical trials going on where it's just working incredibly well.
Wow. Yeah, that is that part of the whole genetic testing?
Yeah, so there's genetic testing and there's genomic testing. Genetic is kind of looking at your family's kind of lineage and history, so your genetic profile, and they can identify mutations that make you more susceptible to certain things. And that's easily identifiable. And when you identify that, something like Lynch syndrome, if you see in a family, a bunch of people are getting colon cancer, well, you find that Lynch syndrome mutation, and all of a sudden, you know that you have a really high likelihood of getting it. You change your surveillance, you catch it early, you can do something about it. And then the genomic piece is, really when you get a cancer, how do we look at the structure of that particular cancer and find the targeted therapies out there that are designed just to kill that?
Can deficiencies cause cancer?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Sure it can.
So I'm fascinated with the whole deficiency and genomic testing and the gene testing that Brecca talks about a lot, and how they can detect deficiencies in your body, how they can detect deficiencies in your body that you normally wouldn't be able to detect. And one of the main reasons you may be feeling a certain way, low energy, fatigue, could be because you're lacking vitamin B or whatever. When did that start, and where do you think the direction of that's going to go? Do you think it's going to get to a point where it's accessible to everybody and everybody is kind of on, more knowledgeable about it?
Yeah, that's not really an area of my expertise. I can tell you at Gameday Men's Health, we're looking into some of those genetic tests to see, maybe if you're predisposed to a particular deficiency, right? If you have a mutation that maybe makes you deficient in vitamin D, we know that occurs, right? For pasty Irish guys like myself, we're typically very low vitamin D, right? And that applies to your genetics and what you're predisposed to and things like that. But it's an exciting area. I think more biomarkers are going to become available that give us more guidance into kind of nutritional dosing and vitamin therapy. As it stands now, it's a little bit pseudoscience-ish from everything I've read. There's not a lot of things that are conclusive. What we do know is having good levels of vitamin D are good. Vitamin C is a good thing for you. Glutathione and things that are antioxidants are generally good for you. But I think it's still not settled science in terms of how to apply these things properly.
So I want to back up a little bit. You ended up getting out of business school,
Yeah.
and what made you end up starting your own facility at Gameday?
Man, I was sick of the corporate world.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Managing people and sales teams and litigious and all this kind of stuff. It just, I was ready for a new challenge. And I ran into these Gameday Men's Health guys that had founded, actually, the founder, Evan Miller, went to high school, same year as me, right down the street. And it was kind of fortuitous that way. And I'd kind of been looking for this anyways. Testosterone replacement therapy changed my life. I was super low testosterone. I was down near 100. I knew something was wrong. I went out and, heard about it on a Joe Rogan podcast that maybe it was something I should look into. Found a clinic near my house, went there, and the place looked like a homeless shelter. I mean, they had fold-out chairs and no paint on the wall.
Yeah.
But I was desperate and I wanted some help, and so got on testosterone, fixed that problem, and overnight it was like the light switch turned back on.
Really?
It was like,
that quick?
It wasn't overnight, but I mean, it was within a few weeks. I was sleeping again. My hair, skin, and nails felt better. I, felt more energy in the gym. A wave of depression left. I noticed that my life was getting better. I could tell my body composition was changing. Got really overweight, well over 300 pounds, and it's just not going well. And so fixed that. So I became passionate about it. I started telling all my friends about it, started studying it, wanted to do it right. And along the way, different mistakes, and we can talk about those things, how to manage estrogen and all that kind of stuff. But I could tell it was a great thing. And so when this opportunity presented itself, I'd kind of been looking for one, because every time I went into this clinic, it was standing room only. I mean, the place was packed at any time of the day. Guys were loaded up in there, all getting the same benefits. And I looked at the way that they were doing. I went, man, there has to be a better way of doing it. They're not really surveilling my blood. They're not really monitoring me. They're just giving me the testosterone, and that's great. But there has to be a better business model here. And then the people in there, God bless them, but it wasn't the best crew of people. I went, there's a demand here, and it's a great thing. And so when Gameday Men's Health popped up, I jumped on it quickly.
Now that's a franchise, correct?
It is.
How many do they have?
It's changing by the day. Yeah. So over 400, and most of those 400 have opened within the last year. So they claim it, and I bet it's true. Wow. They say it's the fastest growing
400 in a year?
Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah. They claim it's the fastest growing franchise
that does
of all time.
What? That is insane.
Yeah. And they're expanding into Canada. They're in Canada now, and it's.
Do you know how much work that takes? Do you know how much they must have a massive team?
They don't. They don't. No, they're a really smart group.
Wow.
A small team, efficient team, very cost conscious, but they don't cut corners either. I mean, they really want to have a solid medical model, and you have to. When you get as big as Gameday is now, you have a target on your back, right? And so you have to do things the right way.
Speak about that, the target on your back, because a lot of people still look at this as, shady usage of things.
Totally.
Some people characterize testosterone and they put it in the same sentence as steroids, which to an extent, and maybe you can change my mind, I still think it's a performance enhancing drug. I mean, you're putting something into your body that's not normally there. And I guess I can't say that because it is there, but it's still synthetically something that you're adding into your body. Yeah. First, what are some natural ways to boost testosterone?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch. I mean, there's the bunch of herbs out there, ashwagandha, and some of those natural supplements. Zinc has got a great way of reducing your estrogen load and increasing testosterone. Working out, getting lean. Becoming lean has a huge impact on your ability to have your endocrine system perform properly, right? And then for some guys, there's just nothing you can do, right? It blows me away. We're running testosterone tests all day long, and so I get a first row seat of observing trends, and small. I mean, just our clinic, but the trends I see are hard to deny. I see 22-year-old kids come in, and I go, oh gosh, you want a free testosterone test? You're not ready for testosterone yet. They come in and they have a testosterone level of 100, 150.
How? What is it?
It's remarkable. I mean, we just would not have seen this decades ago.
Is it the food, do you believe?
You know what? I think it could be, right? I mean, I'm not privy to know whether it's the food, glyphosates.
What's
on
your personal
everything.
opinion on it, though?
I
What
think
do you?
it's a combination of a bunch of factors. I think our food supply is probably poisoned. I think I think we live in kind of stressful times. I think, who knows if it's microplastics, who knows if it's people being over medicated with things that they shouldn't be taking. Who knows?
I mean,
It's
these
probably
kids
a
are
combination of
these
things.
kids
Yeah.
are literally if he's 22 years old, he probably is still in his room most of the day on games. And I think that's why I'm really big on that. It's like,
Yeah.
our kids have to read a book or they have to go outside for a couple hours a day. They have, we're getting to the point where we don't even let them come home from school.
Yeah.
Stay at the school, go to the courts,
Yeah.
go to the field, go
Come back when it's dark.
come back,
Exactly.
right.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that there is is something that's going to be a trend going forward. And if we don't change that, I think those lower testosterone levels are just going to continue because they only come out to eat.
Yeah.
It's usually only cereal or this or that. That's all cause for concern when it comes to that stuff.
We had a guy come in, 22-year-old, seemed pretty fit, young, active guy, lean, and his testosterone was under 200. We had a 77-year-old come in right after him, and his testosterone was nearly 600. And we see it all the time.
Wow.
The younger guys are really being exposed to something, and it's tough to figure out how to manage them too, because obviously you start somebody too early on testosterone, it can impact fertility. We don't like to do it, but then you also go, gosh, how's this thing going to resolve itself? So it's a problem.
What's the lowest score you've seen?
35.
What?
Yeah.
What would happen? I mean, what are they feeling like when they have a level of 35?
That particular individual was in the office just with tears when he found out. Goes, I knew something was way off. Oftentimes the low testosterone will mimic the feelings of being depressed.
Right, depression,
poor sleep, not a zest for life, low libido, just a lack of interest in engaging in the world, right? And for everybody, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I think I had a testosterone level. I'm a recovering addict. I was on opiates for a good amount of 8 years.
Yeah.
I ended up overcoming it, but during that whole time, towards the end, I started becoming more health conscious because I was getting older. I got to the point where I was like, I got to do something. And I went and got blood work done, and my levels were, I think, 78 or 79. It was really low. And I mean, it just made sense when I did get those readings. The lack of confidence, the depression, the lack of motivation, the no sleep, or sleeping during the day and not sleeping at night. All of those things, they changed as soon as I ended up getting on testosterone. And I didn't have the knowledge of going to a facility like yours. So I was getting all my stuff on the black market. I didn't know what I was getting. Like I was telling you before, I got a 5-pack of testosterone bottles, and every single one of them were a different color. So I would always see stuff like that from the places
Like
that
the
I ordered.
liquid was a different
The
color?
liquid was a different color.
Yeah.
So you'd have some, clear, then yellow, then really yellow. And I'm like, I don't even know if I want to put this stuff in my body.
Yeah.
So it got to the point where I was like, all right, I got to find a better source. Talk about the dangers of going to black market, and because I know that there's major benefits if it's done the right way, but if it's done the wrong way, what are some concerns that people can worry about?
I think I mean the first and most obvious thing is peace of mind, right? Which matters, right? You're going to put something in your body and you kind of wonder if it's good or not. It's kind of tough to tell at times, and so by going through a high quality facility, you know exactly what you're getting. Also, some of the testosterones are starting to improve. Testosterone, or the term steroid, just means mixed in oil, right? So testosterone is a steroid. It's an oil based derivative, and historically, kind of low quality stuff will be given to you in cottonseed. It's the cheapest cottonseed oil, and a lot of people do fine with it, but for a lot of people, it produces a lot of bad symptoms. But now they've got this really high quality grapeseed oil extracts. They will mix it in MCT oil also, and so there's just levels of quality, like with anything else, that when you go through a trusted provider, we can work with you to get you the product that best suits you. The other thing is like you said, the black market. You don't know if this stuff is coming from China. They may have slapped an expiration date on there. Who's setting that expiration date? We've had guys come through that have had terrible interactions in the past with testosterone that left them marred. I mean, their hands aren't still working properly. They had severe allergic reactions, and it was because some shady individual was getting it from a shady place. And
Yeah.
so, who knows? I mean,
Also dosing, right?
dosing. How do you know how to dose? Some guys need an incredible amount of testosterone. They just don't react. You give them kind of your standard 200 milligram a week dose, which should be enough for just about anybody. And it just doesn't hardly move the needle on them. And then for other guys, a very small amount goes a long way. And really how we process things is very individual.
Mm. Does testosterone have any effect on cardiovascular issues?
Yes, for good and for bad, right? So, like I was talking to you about earlier, the NIH cites that if you're hypogonadal, right, low testosterone, which is defined by anything under a level of 300, that's a medical condition, right, with that specific name, and it's cited that results in negative cardiovascular outcomes that can be improved by normalizing your testosterone levels.
Now, would you be able to detect that in the blood work that you guys offer?
Testosterone level or cardiac function?
Any cardiac function, anything weird going on with the body, any foreseeable things that could be an issue going on with them?
Yeah, I mean, so, as part of our services, we do complete metabolic panels, right? So we're doing a CBC, we're looking at your kidney function, your liver function, we're looking at a huge endocrinology panel, right? Free, not just total testosterone, but free testosterone, SHBG, right? We're looking at all of that stuff. And so, a lot of stuff gets covered through blood work, and you can kind of see the signs and symptoms of a problem coming, right? C-reactive protein, inflammation in the body, all that kind of stuff. But then also, we encourage guys to go to their primary care provider, have strategies in terms of how they want to manage their lipids, manage their blood pressure, and things like that. One of the things we see most often that are one of the things that will prevent us from starting somebody on testosterone is out of control hypertension, right? Out of control blood pressure. And it's an easy thing to fix, but a lot of people ignore it and don't take that very seriously. Testosterone can make that worse. And so
because it raises blood pressure?
Yeah, it can raise blood pressure by the fact that testosterone stimulates production of red blood cells. And so your blood gets thicker.
Yeah.
That's why every now and then it's a good practice to go, do a therapeutic phlebotomy, go dump blood. It's actually pretty healthy for you anyways, even if you're not on testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, do it quarterly or a couple times a year. But testosterone will increase your blood thickness. And if you already have high blood pressure, that can make it worse.
Everything that you're saying, as far as if you want to put it in layman's terms, basically you have to treat your body like you would your car. It has to have an oil change in order for everything to move throughout the body properly and easily, and so the absorption rate will be a higher percentage. So the type of oil that you buy when you're buying testosterone is also very important for that user, because you want the most quality. But and donating blood is also another way that we can dump out some of the old and get some more of the new.
Yeah.
And
all the growth factors that occur when you need to formulate new blood. It's a really good thing. There's more and more studies about how that's just a really healthy practice.
Fasting. Super good for you.
Yeah.
So basically, it's probably not a good idea for people just to jump on without getting blood work before they even get involved with it.
We won't start somebody unless we do some blood work on them, right? So at minimum, and we do this in all of our clinics, we have an on-site moderate complexity blood laboratory. So first thing that happens is somebody comes in, we are going to measure your testosterone levels, and we're going to do a PSA screen to make sure you don't have any kind of prostate issues or concerns. And then from there, if somebody decides, hey, my testosterone's low, we do a health assessment. We see if it's healthy for them, if they medically qualify, based on their blood pressure and other factors. And if they do, then we send out a huge metabolic panel that we repeat every 3 months. And we do a full consultation with our providers every 3 months. So we're constantly and quarterly staying on top of their numbers, and not just hormonally, but for the whole kind of metabolic system.
And going through a place that monitors that frequently is how people end up living longer.
Yeah.
Because if you're just, slinging whatever you think works and you don't have like the format, that's when you run into problems like, having the extra high blood pressure when someone could have said, just donate blood today or something like that. But I really appreciate facilities set up that like you have going, because it leads people to that longer. We want to, retire in Sardinia.
Right.
So
Awesome.
you have to be at least 104 before you die.
That's right.
So we need
That's right.
guidance, and so you can live longer.
We have a couple questions from some people that reached out to me on
Yes.
social media.
Cool.
One of them is, do you work with women?
We do. We don't do any of the hormonal stuff with women. And that's just because, we're trained, we're experts at guys. Women are more complex, progesterone and other factors that make it a little bit more of a higher complexity thing than we deal with. However, we do have wives, girlfriends, and people come in all the time that want access to the GLP-1 medications,
Yeah.
right? The weight loss, and we're happy to help with that. And then the peptides too. The ladies are really getting into the peptides,
Yeah.
and we certainly assist with that. So yeah, we see women. We don't really do the testosterone thing with women. However, there's showing to be more and more benefit to have women optimize their testosterone levels and things as well.
Well, I know he's helped me with taking certain peptides, and there is a night and day. I feel like She-Hulk in the gym when I'm on peptides.
You know what she was taking? She was taking MK677.
Oh, geez. Were you just eating everything you could get your hands on?
I don't know.
and Rad 140.
Okay.
I had these muscles grow on my
Yeah.
back.
She looked like a horse.
It was
It's crazy.
incredible. It's
Yeah.
so exhilarating. So why wouldn't that enhancement be a positive thing?
No,
Except
it
for like what you
And
said.
I can't let the cat out of the bag too much, but there may be a women's version of Gameday coming out.
Nice,
So
awesome.
that's likely coming in the near future.
Nice.
Actually, there's a website up. You guys can look it up. It's called Her Way Health and Hormones, and that's on the horizon too.
That's
Perfect.
awesome.
Her way, health and hormones. We need it.
Yep.
Thanks.
Eric wants to know if testosterone deteriorates muscle tendons.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
And a complex one. So, like with anything when it comes to testosterone, more can be cool, but more is not always better, right? There's diminishing returns once you get above a certain level, and negative impacts start occurring. That's one of the things we try to prevent, right? You take your hormones up to super physiologic levels. There are some cool benefits that come from it, but those are when the side effects start popping up too. And so absolutely, connective tissue, tendons, that kind of stuff can certainly become more frail with the use of too much testosterone. If you're still in the normal range, 800, 900, 1,000, that's not so much a problem. But there's also this debate when it comes to this, that is it the tendons that are deteriorating in the connective tissue, or is it that your muscles are getting stronger,
Too strong, too quick.
too strong too quick, and it's putting additional pressure with the load that you're putting onto those tendons. But yeah, if you're on anabolics, and testosterone's one of them, you are more prone to have tears and strains and things like that.
As far as Trenbolone, Anavar, and stuff like that, it's a very, I guess you can say, hot topic right now. A lot of the younger generation fitness influencers are all using Tren, and there's a lot of people that are getting sick from it. There's a lot of people that are dying young.
Yeah.
I see it all the time. I was watching this kid. I think his name was Joe something, and he was talking about his Trenbolone use, and he woke up dead. He died in his sleep from cardiovascular issues.
Yeah.
How important is it to be knowledgeable about what you're taking when it comes to Trenbolone, and is it dangerous? Is it not dangerous when taken properly? Speak about that a little bit.
We're not teetotalers in our clinic, right? We're out to optimize, right? And a lot of guys go to other clinics and they're so disappointed that their doctor only wants to give them a little bit and gets them up to 300 or 400.
Why is that is that something that you would actually give?
This happens all the time where doctors will go, yeah, okay, I'll put you on testosterone, but I'll give you one shot a month. The half-life for testosterone is a couple days, right? I mean, it's just up and down, up and down. So, we're not the most cautious, when it comes to that kind of stuff. We want to optimize you. We want to do it safe, but we're also not afraid of testosterone. Now, these other substances that you brought up, there is reason to be afraid and concerned. some of the reasons we talked about earlier, right? It's, you don't know where you're getting it from. These things aren't produced in FDA controlled facilities typically. So quality is there, but also it's just, I mean, the nature of these compounds put a lot of strain on your system and blood pressure and different things like that. And again, how do you do it in a way that's monitored?
Mm. It's tough. I mean, I don't think there is a way.
Yeah.
You kind of have to be your own doctor when it comes to that point.
Right.
And a lot of people are playing with fire. I mean, it's they call it the relationship breaker.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people end up doing some weird shit when they're on it.
Oh,
and
the erratic behavior is wild. The
Yeah.
stories are incredible. But again, I mean, to each their own. Everybody gets to take the risk that they want to take with their life and that kind of stuff. I would just, if I were to even go back to my 22-year-old self, I'd say, cool it, buddy. Like, you're playing with fire. You don't know what you're doing. And again, there's places like us and other places where you can get informed and still push the envelope and get the gains and the aesthetics that you want without sacrificing your health, because you really just don't want to do that.
Yeah. So you started me on a dose of Testosterone.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, what was the other one?
Tirzepatide.
Tirzepatide. That's right.
Yeah.
So far, the results have been amazing. And I'm not
I noticed
saying,
it as soon as I saw you.
I'm
I
not
was like,
saying that because you're on. I'm not saying that because I'm not that type of person to even do that. If it didn't work, I would have said, Jeff, it's not working.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt that it's working. It's curbed my appetite incredibly. It's made me a lot more disciplined actually with the appetite. It's not that it curbed it, right? I still could eat. It made me more disciplined. So I'm able to follow a routine now. I'm able to actually follow my plan without snacking at 10 at night, without picking here and there, or going to get an extra this. So it's very interesting. And I want to talk about the rise of peptides right now and how massive they're getting, because you have a lot of influencers that used to work for companies that closed down, or they're jumping on different trains, and all the power to them. I think it's a great business. And I think, a lot of those people are very smart and they're very good at what they do. And I think peptides is making such a big statement right now that, I want to dig into it a little bit. So where did the peptide craze start, and when did it start? Because I don't even remember hearing about peptides until like 2 years ago.
Like it's just a tidal wave hit everybody
Yeah.
once with it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look back at what peptides really are, right? They're a chain of proteins, right? They're not really a synthetic medication. They're a chain of peptides, or a chain of proteins, right? And so it's interesting. But the oldest peptide is insulin, right?
So that's considered a peptide.
Insulin is a peptide, right? And insulin's quite powerful, obviously. So peptides can be remarkably powerful, and they can do a lot of cool things. And I'm even having a hard time keeping up, and it's what I do, right? But there's just more stuff coming out all the time. There's thousands of them.
It's incredible.
Yeah. But I break them down into a couple key different categories for what's popular right now, what we see people coming in and asking for, and just what is kind of in the zeitgeist of YouTube land and everything else. So there's peptides that are for healing and recovery, right? So you think about your BPC 157s, TB 500,
Incredible.
MOTC, which is, we should talk about that one. That one's wild. And a bunch of others, right, that are really geared towards recovering from injury and mitochondrial health.
Yes.
Right. So longevity, NAD plus, all that kind of stuff. Then you've got your kind of anabolic drivers, right, that are really going to help you with body composition, muscle mass.
The MK677s and stuff like that.
That's one of them. That one's not the most popular anymore. People are moving away from that one primarily because it just makes you want to eat so much. So
it does. It's incredible.
People can, if you need to put on mass, awesome choice.
Like
most people aren't that way.
Like 20 pounds.
Yeah. Most people aren't that way. But so in the anabolic class, we think primarily of the growth hormone secretagogues, right, is what they're called. So you think the tesamorelins, ipamorelin. Oftentimes ipamorelin is blended with CJC, Samorelin, and then something like IGF-1LR3, right, which is probably the most anabolic of the class. And depending on what your goals are and what you're trying to do, kind of guides which one might work best for you. My personal favorite is tesamorelin. Just shreds belly fat. It's actually an FDA-approved drug. It goes by the trade name Agrifta. And Agrifta was developed for HIV patients who would, because of their drugs and the nature of the disease, they put on these big, huge, kind of hard, visceral bellies. And testosterone just shreds belly fat. It was designed for that.
What's the recommended amount of time to use testosterone?
Again, that's a really loaded and tough question.
Do you have to go on personal, like how they're looking or how they're feeling?
I think based on how you feel, there's kind of two things. With the growth hormone secretagogues and HGH in general, you want to watch your blood sugars because it can make you, if you use it for too long, it can make you insulin resistant and could, throw you, turn you diabetic.
Is that also including HGH?
Oh, HGH more than any of them.
Okay.
Right. So the growth hormone secretagogues are better because they're just increasing your own natural production of
things like
hormone.
testosterone, somorelin.
Yeah. So, it signals to the pituitary gland, hey, do more pulses of growth hormone, right? So it's not just putting straight growth hormone in your body. It's making your body's natural process. It's a signaling agent to produce more growth hormone. So instead of, say, 2 pulses a night, if you weren't using it while you sleep, now maybe you're getting 6, 7, 8 pulses of growth hormone a night. Goes down to your liver, signals to your liver, produce more IGF-1. IGF-1 goes into the blood system and shuttles nutrients into the muscles and helps you.
So it's a brain signal that shoots down to your liver to produce more hormone.
So
it's like an alarm clock.
Yeah.
Like, hey, wake up! You need to add some more of this to be at your
growth
top.
hormone is produced by your pituitary gland. And when you sleep is when it primarily does that. And so that's why it's always suggested for something like testosterone. And you can take it during the day and it'll give you the effect too, but works best at night, fasted. Take it right before bed. Don't eat 90 minutes before bed. Pulses growth hormone out of your pituitary gland. And that pituitary gland begins that cascading process of all the good things growth hormone does.
Guys, I recommend anybody listen to this right now to try testosterone.
I have a question.
By the way, talk to my doctors. I'm not the doctor. So
which are great, opinion, man. That guy was really cool.
All opinion.
Cool guy.
But no, out of everything I've tried, so testosterone's amazing. We were kind of talking about it earlier. Man, I felt full, that depression left, energy, sleeping better, all that kind of stuff. Body composition changes occur much, much more obviously and quickly with things like the growth hormone secretagogues. It's
what are the big three?
Out of the growth hormone secretagogues?
Yeah.
Testosterone, ipamorelin, and somorelin. And
testosterone's number one by far.
Yeah. And of course it's the most expensive. But but then I consider IGF-1, LR3 in that mix, but not. It's
Can you take both of them at the same time?
Yeah, you can. You certainly can. The thing with and this applies to tirzepatide too, really all peptides. Kind of the only disappointing thing, and I always try to be fair with people, particularly with their money, right? I don't want people throwing their money away, is after a certain period of usage, your body's developing antibody formations to blunt the effects of it. So when you first start taking these things, you're like, holy cow, I feel it. Testosterone, the first week you take it, at least for me, it's just like you are just sleeping like a bear. You're having the weirdest dreams.
That's why you were sleeping and dreaming like that.
Dude, I was having wild dreams.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I still remember them.
No, that's why you wake up and you're like, man, I'm kind of disturbed with myself that I'm even capable of thinking
That's
these things.
incredible.
Remember when I freaked out? I woke up in the middle of the night. She had to wake me up.
I had to wake him up.
Yeah. But then like a couple months later after you start, you notice like, I'm not having those effects anymore, right? And those little subtle things are kind of signals that, hey, like, okay, I'm kind of getting to the end of the cycle and I should take a break. I personally like going 3-4 months and then taking about the same amount of time.
See, that's really tough to do.
Oh,
it's really 100%. Scary too, because people get used to right. They're like, man, this is great.
But the good news is there's so many peptides out there. You just rotate around. Right?
Oh, really?
What I like to do is I like to kind of go through a period of trying to boost the HGH using those, then take a break and then focus on mitochondrial health and recovery and inflammation and things like that. And so you can kind of twist and turn through it.
Yeah. Were you going to say something?
Yeah. So going back to human growth, if it's enhancing our body for good or for bad, so what if somebody had undiagnosed cancer and they started taking growth hormone? Would that in fact make that cancer grow more rapidly?
Theoretically, yes.
Yeah.
And so, like with all these things, I think, I come in here and act like I'm an expert on all of it. There's so much we don't
Right.
know.
Absolutely.
And so anytime you're deciding to put anything in your body, even things that are well studied like testosterone, nothing's a free lunch, right? There's good and bad with everything, and you just got to be aware of it and kind of, risk assess the best you can, have a great care team. But absolutely. So, theoretically, things like a BPC 157, things that promote angiogenesis, right? The formation of new blood cell or new veins and vasculature and all that kind of stuff, which these recovery agents do. It's how they heal things so well. Can also produce the growth of bad cells if they exist too. And so, staying on top of your screenings that you're due for and all that kind of stuff are important. If you have a family history of cancer, and I learned this working in the cancer field for 20 years, if you have a family history, that's such a strong indicator. Say you had a family member that had colon cancer at the age of 50, you should be asking to get a screening 10 years before the diagnosis of your family member got a particular cancer. Wow. So look for trends, look for all that kind of stuff. But to your point, there's still a lot of questions whether it's cancer promoting.
Is it in fact true that I hold the record over there for the highest testosterone?
I'm trying to think if it was broken recently. It might. No, somebody got close to you.
Okay, good.
But no, you're still the GOAT.
We should put a frame on the wall or something.
Employee of the month.
Yeah.
A poor doctor was like afterwards. He was like, man, that guy was really like on top of it, man. He was pushing the limit, Yeah. But yeah, you were up there, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Actually, so high that we can't report it. It was like after it's a certain level, we have to say greater than this number.
Oh my!
Right?
What is that number?
Yeah, it's something like it's around 1,200.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, it's good that I went there because it really made me like, okay, maybe I am pushing it a little bit too much.
He's really in tune to his body.
That's how we are, though.
But I am, like she said, I am very in tune with my body. If I feel off,
Yeah.
I usually am pretty good with detecting it within a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I was pushing the limit, but if I got to the point where if I felt like I couldn't handle it, I would easily, I would definitely back off, which I did. We ended up discontinuing a few things that I was on. I was doing Winstrol as well.
Yeah.
I cut that. The doctor that you have is really good and very
he's a smart dude.
Very smart. Gave me a lot of good advice and I followed it.
And again, he's not a teetotaler, right? I mean, and that's kind of the secret with putting together this business. It was all about the medical team, and you have to find the right person that understands what we're trying to do. We're trying to optimize, right? We're not trying to be your standard primary care office, but we also want to do in a way that's evidence-based and extend your life and all that kind of stuff. And it's a hard mix to find kind of the person that can marry those two things.
Yeah, you have a good team. It's very welcoming in there.
Yeah,
very, very good atmosphere for sure. Let's go back to the peptides really quick. I want to talk about NAD+. And also I want to touch on the other one that you said we should talk about, the MO.
I want to talk with you about your tirzepatide too.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do that first.
Yeah, okay. So you recently started, obviously, and you're getting great effects. The way you described it was you said some buzzwords in there that indicate to me that it's working really well for you. So you talked about the ability to control your diet. I tell people this all the time. It doesn't necessarily eliminate your desire to eat, right? I mean, you still get hungry and things like that from time to time. Depending on the dose, you can kind of take it or leave it. But it eliminates so much of that food noise that when it does come time to eat, it's easy to make good decisions, right? It's like, when I've taken it, and I lost 70 pounds on it in a pretty short period of time. Like, I'm like, I'm just eating out of utility because I know I need to. I know I need to get my protein macro in, but I'm not having those kind of desirous thoughts to have a Dairy Queen or something crazy, right? So it's like you don't mind what you pick to eat, so which is incredible. The other thing that is incredible, and I know that there's a lot of studies going on regarding it, are for addicts. For whatever reason, and I've kind of read a few studies recently that said that it reduces some inflammation in the brain, and it tones down pleasure-seeking behavior, dopamine-driving behavior. And so when people take it, they notice that they really don't have a desire to have a cocktail, or even coffee in the morning is just not as appealing as it used to be.
Wow.
And some people don't like that too, actually. But it's remarkable the way it works. It's an inflammation reducer. People notice like their rosacea and different things go away, and that could partially be because their diet's getting cleaned up too. But it's a really interesting drug, and we know too from longevity circles, living insulin controlled, having your blood sugar lower, it's one of the best things you can do to enhance longevity, which this obviously does. Back to the thing I don't like about peptides is it does lose effectiveness faster than you want it to.
So meaning you have to take a break, jump back on.
Yeah.
What is there any long-term studies on tirzepatide
I mean, sure, there's quite a few. I mean, it's been used for diabetics for quite some time.
for decades or for
I want to
like
say
how long has
was
it been
kind of
around?
maybe the early 2010s, but it's been around for a while.
So we don't have any data going 40, 50 years back or anything.
No, nothing like that. But they're, I mean, so many people are on them that they're going to have incredible data cohorts, and we're going to see, a lot of information regarding them. But yeah, typically, what we do and we did with you was you start out at the minimum effective dose. People want more, but you go, no, start out as low as you can, because you want to leverage that for it to work as long as you can for you. So you want to prevent your body from getting used to it. And so you start out at, say for tirzepatide, 2.5 milligram. When you start feeling those hunger signals come back, you can up it to 5, up it to 7.5, all the way up to 15. And that's typically how our doctors will employ it. And a lot of longevity guys are playing around with like microdosing it daily. I've
Yeah,
seen a
you
lot
were
of guys
saying
do
that.
that.
Yeah, it's funny that it doesn't like when you go to eat, you can still eat your full dish.
Mm-hmm.
When I was on semaglutide,
Yeah.
totally different feeling. I felt nauseous. We were like going through these mood swings.
The sulfur burps.
Oh, the sulfur burps, the farts, it's just disgusting.
terrible.
Yeah,
It
it's
was
disgusting.
so
No,
terrible.
tirzepatide's way better, and the things that are coming next
Are probably going to be
seem
crazier, huh?
Awesome. I mean, even on kind of the gray market, a lot of them are available. Retatrutide and other things. Semaglutide is a single agonist, right? Just GLP-1. Tirzepatide is dual.
Oh, it's
GIP,
pronounced
GLP.
semaglutide?
Yeah. Well, tomato, right?
Yeah.
But the next versions are going to have anabolic enhancing features that add muscle as you're shredding fat.
Jeez,
Yeah.
which is literally everybody's dream.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, that's something
They'll
that has
never
been
have
very
it in pill form.
yeah,
Psych.
that's been something a big topic for everybody. That's one of the biggest questions I get is how do I lose fat and build muscle at the same time?
Yeah.
And
Problem
unfortunately,
solved.
before, even up to 5 years ago, that was a very hard thing to accomplish.
Yeah.
It's either you were burning fat on a cut or you were bulking.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, the mix of testosterone, a growth hormone secretagogue, and then one of the GLP-1 medications is pretty awesome.
Oh, sign me up.
how long has it been? It's been 3 weeks, right?
2-3 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 weeks. Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
And he is a tough critic. We've been going at this
Yeah,
2
for sure.
years straight,
Yeah.
and he's like his own. So the fact that he's already being more positive about his changes is like a breath of fresh
Yeah.
air.
No, I
because
could tell right when I saw you. I was like, oh, you're cutting
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
It's like you're right. I definitely am a tough critic, but it's like I knew what I wanted to get to.
You knew you
and
was more.
If I felt like I had a bad week or a bad month, and I'm like, I could have done better that month, that's where I get tough. It's like, or if I'm wasting my time on doing something that's I shouldn't be doing and it's not working, there was a point in time where I got off of everything, and my whole body composition changed, and I had no energy. I didn't want to. It's totally different. So by doing it responsibly and having a doctor that you can go to and getting your blood work done and being on top of your stuff is super, super important and very, I mean, I recommend it 100,000%.
Oh, that's awesome. Man.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now we're having a lot of fun.
I'm sure. Yeah. It's a very interesting business. So NAD plus is also, very sought out. I think Justin Bieber came out with like a post that he made. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
Yeah, pull up the Justin Bieber NAD plus ad. The Kardashians were doing it.
Mhm.
Rogan was talking about it a lot, and they were doing it intravenously, talking about the benefits on how it can create longevity, anti-aging properties, stuff like that. So break down what NAD plus is. Here it is right here. Play that, Ash.
So I am here in the doctor's office, and what we are about to do is the nurse is going to put in a an IV, and it's called NAD. And basically, what it does is it's going to flush out some of the toxins. I've abused my body in the past, and now I'm just in recovery process, trying to make sure I'm taking care of my body and taking care of the vessel that God has given me.
So is that in fact what it does? Is it really good for recovering addicts?
Oh, sure. I mean, it's again, it's mitochondrial repair and health. And if you listen to really the foremost experts out there, you mentioned Brecca and a bunch of other people, there's this new real focus on your mitochondria, right? The cellular health in your body, right? Which makes sense. I mean, we're all made of we're a clump of cells, right? And the health and structure of those cells are really important in getting out toxins and all of that kind of stuff. So NAD plus is a peptide also. You can take it in a variety of different forms. They have oral capsules, they have injectables, they have you can take it intravenously, like Justin is doing. What's interesting about NAD plus, man, taking it intravenously is like not for the faint of
It's
heart.
hardcore, isn't it?
I mean, it can make you feel like crap while
Right.
it's going on. I
That's
mean,
what I've heard.
this chest tightness, almost panic attack like feeling. But what it does is incredible for the cell. It's really, every cell in your body has NAD within it. Most of us, as we age, it gets depleted. Kind of a similar story to testosterone. All these things, you're getting depleted of something that is a real driver of the health of the cell, and it has to do with kind of the electromagnetism of the cell and how everything works and communicates with each other. And so when you take it, it's amazing. I had a little sub-Q NAD plus this morning. And you certainly feel it. Other people are more sensitive to it, and so we start people off pretty light and gauge their tolerance. For some people, you take a little sub-Q shot and you feel like you're on a roller coaster, kind of in a bad way for about 20 minutes.
They call that an NAD hole, right?
Yeah, the NAD hole, right? And so sometimes we'll say, hey, sit down, or we'll usually start people at a small dose where we know that's not going to happen, but it can if you take too much of it. But it's an incredible thing, but it's got a pretty long half-life, so we don't recommend doing it more often than every 3 days or so.
Jesus, I was doing it every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were you doing, the pills or the injectable?
The injection.
Yeah.
I was doing. I don't know what the milligram is. I was doing 20 units a day.
Okay, that's not a lot.
Yeah. I didn't notice any of the effects. I didn't notice any of the roller coaster effects or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I did notice a change in my energy. But like we were saying in your office, it's really hard to pinpoint what's doing what. When you're on 4 different things, all you know is I feel great. I'm sleeping good. My moods are great. I'm getting great results in the gym.
Yeah.
So you can't pinpoint exactly what it is, but you know that whatever regimen you're on, provided by the doctor, is working.
Yeah. And that's kind of the hard thing too. A lot of people come in, they want results. They're very impatient.
I was just saying this last night.
They'll come in, they'll get their first testosterone shot. They'll come in the next week, go, I don't feel anything. I'm like, you gotta.
It takes years, man. When you're at the bottom, right? When you're starting off at a 78 testosterone, and you're 300 pounds, 6 foot, and you're 36 years old. You're overweight. You haven't been to the gym in 5 years. You got to understand, and for everybody, you got to understand that it takes time. It's the consistency of going every day. I mean, you get. My favorite quote that I say to myself all the time is success is not about what you can obtain in that moment. It's how long you can keep it. And that really goes back to the consistency of things. If you play guitar long enough, you're going to get really good at the guitar. Right. If you work out long enough, you're going to see the results just by default. So it just really comes down to consistency. If you go to the gym and you just continue going and you go to, you stay on your regimen, your testosterone regimen, your peptide regimen, it doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't even happen in months. It takes a while.
It's amazing what can happen, in a little bit of time. I mean, if you get your act together and keep it together for the course of a year, you can change your life.
Yes.
I mean, you really can, but you got to get well the way you got sick, which was slowly over time, and got to commit to those changes. But NAD plus is a great one. People absolutely love that. It's very popular. The other one that is not. We don't hear people ask for it as much, but really the peptide experts all just, talk about it nonstop is MOTS-C. And MOTS-C is interesting because it's a exercise mimetic. It mimics what happens to your body after you crush an exercise, crush a workout.
Wow.
So through an injection, your body begins the process that it naturally does when you work out. It's mind-blowing. Yeah. And so
What?
at the mitochondrial level and the cell level. So, we were talking about the green zone or the blue zones earlier where you want to move and all that kind of
Yes.
stuff. They found in Japan, they did muscle biopsies on a bunch of Japanese people trying to figure out, what is it about you guys that are making you live so much longer than other people?
And look young. I mean, they're
on
80 years
those,
old, looking like they're 40.
Okinawa and the
Yeah.
islands off there.
Okinawa's great.
And what they found was there was a high propensity of MOTS within their muscle cells, much more so than most people. And so they've isolated that compound. It's a peptide.
Jeez.
And so
ready
it
for
goes into your cell and starts kind of that recovery cascade that occurs only with strenuous exercise.
Nice.
So does it mimic the benefits of after getting a cardio workout?
Yes.
And then it
Yeah.
becomes a memory after 30 days of doing it. Then you've created that new neural pathway right
Yeah.
there. And it's
I'm sure everybody's going, oh my God, I can not work out and just get a workout shot. Like,
Are we going to
God.
get to the point where we can just
I'm sure.
avoid eating bad and avoid
It's like a
going to the
Superman
gym
shot.
and doing cardio?
Yeah.
Is that a direction we're heading?
That'd be nice. Hopefully not, because I think the mental health aspect.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably not. Probably nothing's going to amount to the real thing. But again, it's just fascinating. I mean,
It is. It's incredible.
It's incredible.
It's
What's your
huge.
favorite? So give an example.
Yeah.
Eric comes into your facility.
Yeah.
He hasn't been to the gym in 5 years. He's a little bit overweight. What is the protocol that you would put him through, and what would
Yeah.
you do with that?
Yeah, well, first of all, my docs, right? I'm the
Correct.
sales guy, right?
Correct.
But really, I think we start off with, people oftentimes, they love YouTube, they love researching these things, just like us. We find it fascinating. They come in with a lot of ideas of things they want to do. Number one, if you come in wanting to do 100 things at once, you don't know what you're fixing necessarily. And number two, most people don't have that kind of money, right? Because it can get very expensive. Peptides are not cheap,
No, they're not.
and they're even not cheap for me to get, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they're expensive. And so we start off by going, hey, let's get an idea of where you're at, right? What's going on in your blood work, and then tell us how you're feeling. Right. We talked a lot about blood work, but also it's like self-reporting. I mean, do you have libido? Are you sleeping okay? Are you depressed? Are you getting out and having exercise? Talk to us about your lifestyle. Talk to us about your comorbidities, the other things that you've got going on in your life. And then from there, I think the obvious place to start is by getting your hormones right. And then once you have your testosterone in a good place, then from there, hey, let's see what other tools and strings we can pull to really dial you in and help you hit your goals.
What are some new peptides that are coming out that you're hearing of, and that are beneficial, that are going to be big in your eyes?
Yeah, well, the advancement on the weight loss ones
Mhm.
to make it not so catabolic, right? Taking away your muscle mass and things like that, things that help you improve your muscle mass while rapidly losing weight. Those will be incredible.
Yeah, the weight loss ones are big.
Yeah, I mean they're big now, right?
Yeah.
And so many people can benefit from them. It's not even funny.
Can you dig into a little bit about the what's the semaglutide, the one that they push on TV all the time? That
Ozempic.
Ozempic.
Yeah.
Ozempic.
Ozempic face, bone deterioration. Is that all myth, or is that fact?
No, it's a real thing. I mean, is
that by abusing it, or is
no? It's a consequence of losing too much weight too fast.
Got it.
Right, and so that's why the clinicians I really appreciate, the ones in the know how to use it in a very sparing way. And this is where compounding pharmacies and not just getting it through, the major pharma company that gives you a particular dose can be really valuable, because you can start dosing it in more creative ways. And that's why this kind of micro dosing, for somebody like you that's got really good body composition already, micro dosing it during cuts and doing different things like that can help you do it in a way that spares your muscle and prevents the Ozempic face and that kind of stuff. So what they always say is, when you're using them, if you're losing more than a pound or two a week, you're probably going a little too hard.
Wow.
Lose weight slowly, use a moderate dose, and be controlled with it.
And that
Be
goes
smart.
for any peptide that is a weight loss control.
Yeah.
Not just Ozempic.
Yeah, well, losing weight too fast is not generally seen as a good thing.
Excellent.
Yeah, guys, if you're thinking about getting into shape or feeling better, looking better, performing better, that's what I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
So
okay.
you were telling me about a shot that they offer, and they put it right into the men's unit.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
What is that?
We should cover ED for a second here.
Okay, please.
Yeah, so one of the things we do, other than peptides and testosterone and weight loss, is we are really a leader when it comes to erectile dysfunction. We offer, as many options as any clinic you're going to find, right? Both medications, so like Trimix, if anybody's familiar with that, or Viagra and Cialis and all that kind of stuff. There's a peptide called PT141 that is wild for driving libido and erection quality and that kind of stuff. It's actually, not to deviate too far, but Viagra and Cialis increases blood flow, right? The circulation and blood flow. And it's actually good for longevity and lifting and all that.
Is that a good thing to take every morning?
Cialis?
Yeah.
Tadalafil?
Yeah. Because I've been taking it every morning.
I'm convinced, and I'll just speak for myself, that I think it is probably out of all the compounds we're talking about, probably like the greatest thing. And the reason is 5 milligram daily tadalafil. And if you're using it for, sexual issues, people are typically
No, I'm not.
No, I know. But people are typically using much stronger doses. So this is a microdose, 5 milligram. And the way it works sexually is it increases blood flow and nitric oxide, and that helps men perform better, but it does it everywhere in your body.
Yeah.
Right? And so there's incredible studies out there that show a tremendous decreased risk of cardiovascular death because you're opening up your blood flow and your blood vessels.
That is what I wanted to know.
So if you look at all like the longevity guys, Brian Johnson and all these guys that are trying to live forever, it is 100% part of their protocol.
Wow.
And also my favorite part of it is when you go to the gym, your pumps are insane. You feel like your arms are going to explode because the blood flow and the veins and that kind of stuff. And it's cheap.
It's cheap, and it also does help with sex drive. I mean, it boosts it.
Totally.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Sense if the blood's flowing. And then
blood's
there's
flowing.
No.
No, it's
so is that also a female product?
Not so much. I think, but the peptide PT141 is incredible for women.
Yeah.
That's one more people should learn about and try. It's wild. The difference between PT141 and say tadalafil, Cialis is tadalafil, Cialis are increasing blood flow, opening up your vasculature, nitric oxide, and you're getting that whole systemic blood flow. PT141 works on your central nervous system, and it increases kind of all the libido chemicals and that kind of stuff, and make people need to run through a brick wall to find their significant other.
Wow.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah,
maybe we should try that.
You open tomorrow?
Yeah. We can get you something.
What's it called? PT141?
I've got some in my car, right? PT141. So
wow, that's incredible. That's good to know about the tadalafil. It's something that I just started taking, and you know what? Before that, I have SVT, which is just the most annoying thing in the world.
Yeah.
My doctors tell me it's not a big deal. It's not dangerous. It's just always going to be annoying.
Yeah.
So I'll be doing something or I'll bend over the wrong way and it'll trigger. And what my heart does is it just starts going 1,000,000 miles an hour. Tachycardia, the rhythm's off. And I have to do this thing where I put my arms between my legs and do this whole thing that breaks the actual SVT.
It was scary as hell when you weren't used to what it was.
When I was younger, it developed when I was younger. I think it had a lot to do with being on Adderall at the age of 12 and just developing and having, I think that might've been one of the causes, but yeah, when it first started happening when I was younger, it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
And I've had episodes that were so bad that I thought I was going to die. I mean, they get pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I started taking the tadalafil and I've noticed a massive difference.
Wow.
They're almost gone.
Well, it lowers blood pressure. Another positive.
Which I thought it raised.
No.
I always stayed away from it because I thought all that stuff raised blood pressure.
No, it's pretty incredible. And like I said, totally affordable for people. And you think about, again, my personal bro science mind. I think every guy on testosterone should take it. Think about, what we talked about earlier, the development of more red blood cells, your hematocrit going up, the need to donate blood. Well, I mean, don't you think you could benefit from having your blood flow better and your veins open up more and all that kind of stuff? And so I think it's incredible.
Do they market it to that type of audience though? Because Cialis is usually people think Cialis is just their boner pills.
Yeah, no, it's an off-label use for sure. But there's an interesting statistic out there. It's like, and I'm throwing out a number, but it's something akin to like 90% of drugs prescribed are prescribed off label. So just because it's indicated for one thing doesn't mean it's
True,
not
yeah.
for something else. I can tell you though that Cialis and Viagra were initially developed as blood pressure medications. They weren't. They discovered that there was a side effect of sexual performance, and then that became a multi-billion-dollar
one, yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
right? It was a bigger market,
Yeah.
right? But it's a blood pressure medication.
We spoke about ED.
Yeah.
What is that shot that they do?
Yeah, so we do PRP in our office, both for injuries, and we do it for scalp hair restoration. But we primarily do PRP, so platelet-rich plasma. We take 30 mLs of blood out of the body, quite a bit of blood. We have a special centrifuge and process to spin it down where we get the stem cells and the growth factors all mixed out of the blood. We get it separated. And then we inject it back into the body for this specific procedure we're talking about. It's called a P shot. And it involves a bunch of those platelet-rich plasma shots, right? Your own blood, your own growth factors injected back into the penis.
Right into it.
And the worst one is the one right at the tip, right
No.
at the head. A big old needle right in the front.
No.
Yeah.
Every man should try.
So
it.
we always know when it's going on. People know in the waiting room because they hear, actually people are fine with it, but and we numb.
That
you
must
up
be
and,
incredibly painful.
yeah, it can be.
No,
we numb them up and it's all good, but it works incredibly
right. So
well.
what does it do? What does it do?
Release all growth factors. It helps the vasculature. It introduces all those stem cells and produces better erections naturally without a drug intervention. So people that are been like, man, I've been taking all these pills forever. This is a natural way to do it.
So this is for people with serious ED.
Yeah, and then people also that maybe have Peyronie's disease, so curvature of the penis, or have size concerns. It actually puts quite a bit of size on too. So some guys like that. So we do that. And we usually do that in combination with something else that we have. We have an acoustic wave therapy machine. We call the procedure Gaines wave. And that breaks up all the plaque within the vasculature of the penis and all this kind of stuff, brings in new growth factors as well. So we mix those treatments together and we have really good success rate. Not everybody, but about 85% of guys respond very, very well who have struggled with everything else. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I can't believe how far we've came in just 10 years.
Yeah.
It just makes me think, where are we going to be in another 10?
Oh, who knows with AI?
Because we're rapidly developing with AI and
Head transplants.
I mean, did you
face transplants?
did you see that?
Yeah.
That's real. They're doing
Like
head
a full head?
Yeah.
They're doing full head transplants. That's a real thing. How about the cloning that they're doing, the direwolf that they brought back?
Oh,
I know, right?
So
weird.
AI is able to, I guess, where you have your DNA cell has millions and millions of these little strands, and each one of these strands has a letter to it, or a combination of letters and numbers that
AGTC.
Right. They're able to locate exactly what strain that will be able to produce or reproduce the exact DNA replica and pull
CRISPR,
it.
these gene editing.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So what they do is they literally throw it through not ChatGPT. I'm sorry,
AI.
Yeah.
You're
Pull a
using
Trump.
that too much, aren't you?
Pull a Trump.
Yeah.
They throw it through whatever AI platform that they use for that, and it tells them exactly what gene that they need to modify in order to replicate a direwolf.
Yeah. Most of my career was in oncology and cancer, and these tools are used a lot. But I spent a couple of years in transplantation, and now they're injecting DNA, and I may be saying this in a crude way, but they're using human DNA in pigs to grow kidneys that are human compatible, and then they're using those kidneys as the donors for humans. And
I saw that.
They're making a lot of progress.
It is incredible.
But don't you think about these are the things we know about?
Yes, absolutely.
What's really going on?
I don't know.
They're just now telling us about it, which means back up 50 years they've been working on
they
this.
probably have giants locked up that they're making and all kinds of.
I think so.
Of course they are.
I think so.
Japan just passed a bill saying that it's okay to crossbreed humans and animals.
No, they passed a bill that they're going to start cloning humans, because that was the one thing that America does not want to get involved in, because it's ethically borderline. It could go a lot of different directions.
Yeah.
I feel
Japan,
like they've already been doing that a very long time.
Probably, but Japan passed a black market, definitely.
Yeah.
But Japan passed a bill saying that we're gonna do it, we're gonna let you guys know what the outcome is. But if you think about the black market stuff, going back to that, there's people out there with a lot of money that like to have lions as pets and stuff, and they have a whole jungle of just like these exotic animals. You mean to tell me that these people have never crossed their mind, not in the the last 100 years, that have these billions of dollars that can't go buy their own stuff for DNA replication or
Imagine the peptides that these guys have.
I know.
I mean,
the
come on.
refrigerator must be loaded.
I know. They must have all kinds of stuff.
They must
they're
have
not
stuff.
letting us
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know what's happening, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
got to be, you know.
Plug your social medias. Where can we find you?
Yeah. So we've got 2 clinics in Rhode Island, one in the Garden City Center of Cranston, so Gameday Men's Health Garden City, and Gameday Men's Health Wayland Square on the east side of Providence. And yeah, we're looking to open more, but, you know, come on in, find us. We're on all the socials. And the thing that we offer everybody, and this is not bait and switch, it's not a ploy, is if you make an appointment with us, you come in, we're going to do your blood work for free. You sit down with one of our doctors for free. And at the end of that, if you don't want to move forward with anything, you got some great information and you know where you're at, we don't charge anybody for that. And we don't mind if people come in and take advantage of that. And then if they do want to start, we make it convenient. Since the blood laboratory is on site, we can generally get guys started that day if they qualify.
Jeff, thank you so much for coming
Awesome.
on, man.
Thanks
I
for having me.
appreciate it. And guys, go check them out at Gameday Health.
Gameday Men's Health.
Gameday Men's Health.
Yeah, Wayland Square and Garden City.
Incredible experience, Jeff. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.